Hey, everybody, welcome, and thank you for listening to this episode of Marriage Therapy Radio. My name is Zach Brittle, and I am delighted to bring you this conversation today with Brook and Kristan Seaford. Kristan has an incredible story of triumph, really, over some kind of amazing circumstances, and the way that she and Brook have bonded together to overcome some pretty significant hardship is amazing, both for their marriage, for their roles as parents. She has turned her story into a compelling platform for inspirational talks. She does some therapy, and I just really appreciated the opportunity to talk to them, get inside their story, appreciate a little bit of how they've turned tragedy into comedy, and just generally be inspired. I think you will be too. This is a very cool conversation. Stick around. Well, thanks for coming on. I'm excited to talk to you guys. You have a pretty incredible story, it sounds like. Do you want to give us the cliff notes real quick?
Sure. We had a pretty catastrophic, or I had a pretty catastrophic health issue. Back in 2013, I got strep throat and the flu at the same time. And pretty quickly, it turned into pneumonia. And then the strep bacteria got into my bloodstream, which is called sepsis. And once any infection is in your bloodstream, then it's not a great prognosis. And so basically then the bacteria attacks all of your organs and kind of kills them one by one. And that's exactly what happened to me. And so I went into septic shock. And so long story short, after 108 days and 6 different hospitals, I came home again to my family. But I was changed forever because I had lost my hands and one foot and then part of the other foot. And so the reason that I ended up losing my limbs is that one of the medications they gave me is known to sometimes steal the nutrients and the oxygen from your limbs to bring it to the middle of your body where your organs are.
Sure.
And so the same medicine that saved my life, in effect, killed my hands and feet. So that's the cliff notes.
That's the headline, but it's probably not the whole story. I mean, you guys then have had to adapt. You sort of signed up for one thing and you ended up with something else. And, Brooks, what has that been like for you? How do you describe your version of that same life-changing chapter?
Yeah, that's an interesting question because we had been married for 10 years when this happened.
No, it was...
It's been about 11, 12, so about
12 years.
Maybe, 12 years. And so we had, at the time, a brand new baby who was 1 year old when all this happened, which was our 5th. And so, but we had a very traditional marriage in terms of how we allocated duties. So it was, I worked, she did everything at home, ran the household, ran the kids. I mean, it was like clockwork. Embarrassingly, I had not done a lot of that work. So then when things happened where she was unable to do a lot of that work she had done, it came to me. Now, fortunately, through the whole crisis part of it, her sisters came. We had a tremendous amount of community support, family support. It was unbelievable. And so people just from all over just wrapped their arms around us and helped us through that. But then once kind of the dust settled, then I was now doing, I joked that I didn't even know how to empty a dishwasher. So then...
You didn't.
And so it was...
But I also pretended I didn't know how to take the trash out. So it all worked out.
And it flipped like 100. So now, I'm, doing the dinners, I'm, kind of emptying dishwasher, laundry and all those things. But what it gave me was a profound appreciation for all the work that she was doing as a mom, as a stay-at-home parent. And so now I definitely appreciate that more than I ever had.
He was so sweet about it because for the first few months, once a week at least, he's just apologized to me and said, Kristan, I am so sorry. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like,
I had no
all
idea.
those years, I had zero idea of what that was like.
Wow.
And the other thing he said that was so sweet, and I don't know if you remember even saying this, but I tell people all the time, is that, often told him how badly I felt that everything fell onto him. And he said, Kristan, you know what? You got the first 12 years. I'll get the next. And so that made me feel so much better. Of course, now it's been 12 years. So I don't know.
So it's up for renewal.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty funny. I guess I have this kind of obvious question, or this is obvious to me. It's so cool the way you talk about the life-changing event and how it was almost like and then this happened and this happened. Did you get angry? Did you get upset? Did you get mad at God? Did you get mad at each other? Did you get mad at the doctors? Like, how did you have to weather that too? I mean, I think I would be furious, and surely you must have had some version of that as you went through this process.
Well, so as you all know, Zach, men, the only emotion that they are quote unquote allowed to experience is anger.
Right.
And the only emotion that women are allowed to experience is sadness. And I will say that I was very, very sad and I had a lot of grieving to do. But I never really felt angry. And I knew it would have been okay if I had, but I was so thankful for all of the doctors and the nurses and everybody that helped me live. And I was so thankful to Brooke. I was so thankful to God. It increased my faith 100-fold. I grew up Christian and thought I knew really what that was all about. But after this happened, that is when I really learned to depend on God. Before this happened, Brooke called me fiercely independent, as in like throwing elbows. I'm going to do this myself.
Still fiercely independent.
But so that was a really big change. But it took, I think, a long time for me to even come to grips with what had happened. When I was in the rehabilitation hospital, all I did was look towards the day that I could come home. And at every hospital I went to along the way, my family would hang up pictures of the kids. And that was the first thing I saw in the morning, and it kept me going. And it was the last thing I saw at night, and that kept me going. So once I finally got home, I was so excited. But then, they carried me into the house and put me on the couch. And that's when I was, looking around and seeing everybody taking care of my kids. And that's when I realized what a burden I would be, what a burden this would be on my family forever. And so the hardest part was after I got home, after all of the amputations and after all of the just other difficult parts of the whole process. I had a tracheotomy. I'd had a feeding tube. Just a lot of things. But those things, as far as the grief part of it, didn't compare to that.
I think I'm maybe still, 11, 12 years into it, it still is a challenge. And you still have to remember how different things are. It's interesting. You don't get used to the changes, really, or I haven't yet. But in terms of emotion, I would say I got angry for her. And so because what seemed so unfair was that all the things that she loved and all the things that helped, or were her identity were stolen from her. She was she qualified for the Boston Marathon. She was a very well-regarded group exercise instructor. I mean, snow days I hated because she would make us do her at-home workouts and they killed me. And so, and then now things are, she's not able to do all the things that she loved. And like being a mom was her number one thing. She loved the carpools, the getting the lunches, the study time. She ran this family like a, I would say like a military, not military, that sounds harsh, but she was very on top of every
finely tuned machine. Yeah.
That's a better
I
description.
don't know though. You might be giving me too much.
No, and so for me and for her not to be able to do some of the things that she loved and the things that maybe I don't love as much and get to do them, I think I get angry for her.
Still?
Yeah, I would say still. It surfaces randomly. It'll just, we go through a rhythm and then something will happen and I'm like, that's just not fair.
And it's not fair. I mean, yeah. I agree with that sentiment for sure.
What does Angry Brooke look like?
You should describe it better than me. Because I'm afraid I would couch it in very, very favorable terms. They're probably not objective. So why don't you say what?
She definitely has a temper.
I do.
Definitely. It very, very rarely is directed towards me, though. It's usually like the kids when they're misbehaving or talking back or not appreciating what's being put on the dinner table.
Yeah.
That's kind of where you sometimes can lose it.
Yeah, that's true.
And you have 5 children?
5. We have we have one son and the rest are daughters. Our oldest is 22, a recent college graduate. And so he's moved to Charlotte, but he's trying to figure out his next step in terms of life and grad school, what he's going to do. Our oldest daughter is a sophomore in college in Kentucky at Center College. The twin daughters are 17 and they are seniors in high school. So they are going through the whole exploring where they're going to go to college. And then our bonus baby, we'd like to call her, who was 1 when all this happened. She's a tween and she is in 7th grade. And she, it's interesting because she has grown up so differently than the others because she's been raised by lots of different viewpoints. And me being one of them consistency, I wouldn't say is my biggest strength. And Kristan is very consistent. So she's, kids adapt and she's just developing into this really fun, spunky, very bright, but also empathetic.
She's still so sweet. Yeah. I just want to hug on her and not let go because I know that any day now she's going to turn on me. I mean, they all do.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got 4 teenage girls right now. So, and really the hardest part of this whole process was that when I got sick and went into the hospital, she was 13 months old and she wasn't walking yet. She wasn't talking yet. And when I got home, she was a toddler and running around and she, was just a different kid. And she was also a different kid that didn't remember me. And on top of that, she was terrified of me.
Yeah.
And for good reason. I mean, I was scary looking. I was really, really sick and I had some nasty wounds. But I had to work really hard for her to know me and love me again.
I'd love to jump in with a story that I think is beautiful and I think it speaks a lot to her character. Is she knew from you all's training and child development and all that about the importance of the initial formation attachment.
Yeah.
So when she shouldn't have, physically, she slept on the floor by Jeannie's crib. so that when Jeannie would wake up or something, she would be there. And she did it consistently. And she knew all those things which was been such a blessing, is that really did work. Because
I just knew that the way babies attach is that they know their mom's voice and they know their mom's smell and how she touches them. And she wouldn't come near me. Like if someone tried to put her on my lap, she would scream bloody murder. So I just decided, you know what? If she won't be around me during the daytime, then as soon as she falls asleep, I'm going to crawl in there. I learned to, with my broken little limb, kind of push her passy over to her in the middle of the night and things like that. We used to take her on walks, and Brooke would, we would start out and Brooke would be pushing the stroller, and, he would kind of peel off so that Jeannie didn't realize he was leaving. And so then I would keep going, and I would talk to her, and I would sing to her, and we would look for the yellow flowers and silly things like that. But it was a long haul, and I cried myself to sleep many nights, and I did not think that she would ever love me again, And the ironic part is, as the youngest, I joke that she's the only one that loves me, and I'm totally teasing.
Yeah.
But as the other girls and my son were teenagers, she was still this little sweet little 8-year-old, bopping around, and I've really enjoyed her in a way that I don't know that I've had the time to enjoy the other kids, or perhaps I just didn't appreciate it anymore. I didn't appreciate it with them as much as I have appreciated the ability to be there with her. I realized what a gift it is to be able to help people and to be able to take care of people. And so a lot of the things that parents gripe about, like all the laundry and walking them to the bus stop at 6 a.m. and signing all their reading logs and things like that, I don't have to talk about, I have to do this and I have to do that. I talk about, I get to do this. And I worked really hard to be able to walk again. And I was so happy to be able to walk them to the bus stop.
You're like, heck yeah, I'm walking you to the bus.
Yeah. And I worked really hard to learn how to sign my name again. So yeah, heck yeah, I'm going to sign all the reading logs.
Yeah.
So it has just been kind of a different experience. All of our kids are super independent, I would say, as well.
Yeah.
They all kind of learned how to cook because I made them okay, everybody gets one night a week, and you need to figure out what you want to have. Tell me what to buy at the store, and then either help me cook it or cook it yourself. So they learned how to pack their own lunches and do their own laundry long before other kids, especially here in 2025. So my hope is that independence will serve them well. And also
I think it already is.
They've learned how to help me so much of the time. There's not a choice in the matter. So my hope is that as they move forward in life, they will be able to and will want to help everyone.
Yeah. I mean, for them, particularly, what was your youngest's name? What was her name?
Jeannie.
Jeannie doesn't have a before and after version of mom's limbs. And this is actually a question I want to ask a little bit, because it's the headline, right? Mom had a traumatic health event that cost her limbs, but it's not the whole story. There's more to your overall marriage story. Your kids, if I ask them, tell me about your parents, tell me about your parents' marriage, tell me about your mom and dad, what would they say? Would they start with, my mom lost her hands and feet, or do they have another version of the story that's more grounded in kind of what is versus what was versus, you know what I mean?
That is a good question.
I ask my clients this all the time. Every time when I'm getting to know a couple for the first time and I learn that they have kids and they tell me, the couple will tell me about themselves. I go, okay, cool. What would Jeannie tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I would definitely say that the kids like are disgusted if they see us kissing. Like if we want them to leave us alone, we start to pretend to get on top of not on top of each other, but hug each other and stuff. I mean,
I would say we've always been affectionate. So I would hope that, and sometimes, it's interesting how the norms of dating with teenagers are so different now. And sometimes I'm wondering, because we model relationship to them and just wonder how our relationship has impacted, their views on dating and stuff. But I would say we've always been affectionate and do nice things for each other. And like anytime we go out of town, the one other leaves a note for the other one. And they've seen that. I don't know the impact it's had on them, and we don't fight a lot publicly. I mean, or in front of them, or try not to. Maybe we'll disagree, but I don't know if that resonates with him, or they realize that, a lot of couples have really significant arguments in front of their kids. We haven't done that. Now, that is no way are we saying our marriage is perfect, and we definitely have our share of disagreements. I'm just not sure that they've seen that.
We're definitely not a couple that ever raise our voices.
No.
And truly, we really just haven't fought much in our marriage.
Yeah.
I don't think we ever had a fight really until we had a child.
Yeah.
And so,
which was pretty quickly into the marriage, like 1 year. But
I thought it was going to take us a long time to get pregnant because so many people in the world, and one of my sisters had a hard time getting pregnant. So I said, we should probably go off the pill, kind of soon, because it could take a long time. 28 days later.
Yeah. Here I am thinking I had all this time. No. But
so I didn't mean to trick him. But.
Yeah. I think we've pretty much always been pretty smitten with each other. But to another thing though is that the relationship did change with this. Like one of the things that drew us together, both of us are independent and like our own space. Like we're not the couple that we have to do every single thing together. She's not riding in the golf cart when I go play golf or anything like that. And that's always worked for us. That doesn't necessarily work for other people. I think there are other couples that they have to be around each other all the time.
I think maybe a lot of that was because when we started dating, it was about a month before I was to leave town to go to a different town to go to grad school. And so the entire time that we were dating and even engaged, it was long distance.
Mm-hmm.
And so we, got all of our
long
work
distance
done.
long distance before texting and FaceTiming and,
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so I'd say that I do my thing. She does her thing. We do our things. But we've had to, though, adapt now because it's funny talking about rules. Now I've gotten more active. Like I love to work out and play pickleball and tennis and golf and all these things. And I think in some ways she was always doing that before. And now it's harder for her to do this. Yes.
I used to be pretty obsessed with
exercising.
Yeah.
And now it's
flipped. And now it's him.
And so, and I think that's hard, and that's an adjustment on her part, as well.
That is definitely hard.
Yeah.
It is hard for me to watch him get to do some pretty amazing things that I can't do.
Yeah.
certainly, I mean, I don't begrudge him that. I wanted to do it. I'm thrilled for him to do it. But it has been something even just in the past year or two that we have really put some intentional, effort into figuring out what can we do together for fun?
Yes.
Because that changed.
What do you do? What do you do together?
We're like, so we, trying to find, like, for instance, out to travel. So we're, it's hard though with 5 kids in college and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. So trying to plan a trip that we can do together.
Like maybe a cruise where it's not as much walking, things like that. Whereas if this hadn't happened, I mean, we scuba dived on our honeymoon.
Yeah.
I mean, we're always active together. And so that has been a little bit of a struggle.
And a lot of our friends, like my friends, like they'll play, maybe they'll do pickleball together, like the couples and stuff. And we can't do that. And so I think that can be frustrating for me because I want us to be able to do it, but just physically it's not possible. But it does set the intention of date nights. She decided she was going to learn more about beer. I love beer. And so we'd go to like breweries or we like to go to movies.
I used to hate beer.
You used to hate beer and now
But one year for our anniversary, I gave him this, like a map of all the breweries in North Carolina. And I said, I think that we're going to start knocking these out because I'm going to learn to like beer. And last week, I didn't tell you this.
How's that going?
I went to lunch with my family and I got a beer and everyone was like, who are you?
What have you done with that?
Yeah, right.
But those are we were also talking about taking like a class together, like a creative writing class.
Yeah,
together.
We signed up for it
and then we didn't
actually go.
We didn't do it. But those things I think take time. Like, we're still evolving in that part.
There's a couple of museums here in Charlotte.
Yes, that's right.
We'll do that. We like to go to comedy clubs.
Sure.
Look for concerts.
Yeah.
There's this thing that you said that Brooke can do things that Kristan can't do. Kristan, are there things that you can do that Brooke can't do? Like, have you discovered that side of it? That this
she kicks my butt in Scrabble. Still, okay. I was hoping the traumatic brain injury would like level the playing field, but it didn't.
Have there been hidden gifts, I guess, is my question. Like in this.
Good question.
Yeah. Well, certainly it's been a hidden gift of just how much more I appreciate things. I mentioned my kids earlier and how I appreciate being here for that. I also appreciate my marriage. I tend to work a lot, and there's a lot of reasons for that. One is that I adore what I do. Gosh, I'm so lucky. I mean, how few people in this world truly love their work.
I know one thing that you can do. So one thing is that I love speaking, and I'm a pastor as well. And so I love public speaking. I always thought it would be fun to do that type of stuff. And she never had an interest in doing that. Well, now because of this, she's become a pretty sought after motivational speaker. Mm-hmm. And so that would have been something and she just appreciates it and she doesn't promote it as much as maybe she should.
I don't like it as much as I like counseling.
And see, I would have loved to motivate. And so now she does that and does it really, really well. So that's an interesting thing that's evolved from it.
That is true. I kind of just happened into it. I went to talk to this like moms group that I had been in. And I, kind of learned like, hey, I can actually be funny. And I can, he was the funny one, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a very dark sense of humor. And Brooke told me last week or the week before that I have a lot more material for my dark humor.
Yeah. Well, I actually wanted to ask about that because I grew up in the era of what do you call a guy with no arms and no legs jokes? Like, do you know these jokes? And do they're funny, but then you meet somebody who's like lost their limbs. Do you have humor about and around this?
I do, and it catches people off guard a lot because I had gone to the eye doctor, and this was pretty soon after I had kind of come back to life or whatever. And I had gotten in his like special, chair that you get in for them to look in your eye. And it came time for me to like get up off that chair. And I think maybe I was still in a wheelchair then. And he says, "Can I give you a hand?" And I just like didn't miss a beat and said, "Actually, I need two. Do you have any laying around?"
Yeah.
And like, he looked at me and just wanted to like eat his hands and his feet and crawl into the ground. But
I would say we would have been more offended prior to that. Like if we heard one of those jokes prior to all this happened, we'd probably been like, okay, that's not very funny.
And
now
my kids do jokes and their friends like love them too. There's a lot of them because people say, "Oh, you have 5 kids. Gosh, you have your hands full." Yeah, if only I had hands, or, I'll say, "Oh, I don't have a hand in that fight. I don't even have a leg to stand on,
Yeah.
So I definitely, I guess that's a cross between a dad joke and a, just dark humor type thing.
Well, it just feels like it needs to be in a critical part of any recovery process is that you find the humor in the tragedy. Like it seems like that is required, or else you're just going to build resentment, I would imagine. I mean, so I don't know what comes first. I don't know if like humor comes first and then recovery, or if recovery comes first and then humor, but it's certainly a question I have, particularly if, again, you're not going to be a professional victim about kind of the hand. There it is, the hand that
the hands you're dealt.
The hands are dealt. Yeah.
I think it happened really simultaneously. Grief kind of happens in waves, and humor happened in waves too. One thing that I tend to do when I'm giving a talk is, there are parts of my story that are touching and even tear-jerking, but I don't leave any audience in that sadness for long because I just follow it with a joke. I'll talk about how they did my amputation surgery all at once. They got the best hand doctor and the best foot doctor. And then I'll be talking about how much it hurt. And I'll say, it's kind of like a mani-pedi. They did it all at the same time, and I think the other part of it is the more comfortable I am around my disability, I think the more comfortable other people are. Like when I am meeting a new client, just right there in the first session, I will say, "Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and talk about this elephant in the room. I don't know if when you came to see me, you knew that I was disabled, but although usually you can tell in somebody's eyes when they walk in the door. But
they go, "Oh my gosh." Yeah.
Yeah. But I just talk about it straight out because otherwise they'll be wondering. And that's a distraction from counseling.
I think it would be really funny to do I'm going to go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room just because I know you're wondering. Yes, I'm Catholic. Just to say that. Just to say, or I am,
It's like when people will say, "Oh, you're pregnant. When are you due?" And then I'm like, "What? What do you mean? I'm not pregnant."
Yeah.
Like when I'm 9 months pregnant.
Yeah. What would you say is or is there a unique thing that your disability brings to your counseling practice? Are they connected, or is it just incidental beyond that first moment?
Sure. Well, I think there's a couple things, with individuals that come in and, they have all kinds of hardships and things that have happened to them and things they struggle with. I like to think that when they walk in, they can see that I'm not pretending to be perfect or have a perfect life. They can see, my struggles. They can see when I drop a pen that it takes a minute. And so my hope is that they think, well, if she can handle what she can handle, there must be some secret. Maybe she'll tell me,
Yeah.
And then I think when I do work with couples, I do have a unique perspective to marriage because I can 100% relate to the, primary caregiver and how, they feel like they're alone and things and, talking about chores and who does them all. I can relate to that, but I can also relate to being the provider. There is so much pressure on in a single income family. There's a lot of pressure on the income, earner, because that's a big nut to cover, am I going to lose my job? And am I going to be able to, make enough money to do this or to do that? I think that Brooke used to tell me about that, and I don't think I appreciated it. But then we got to a point where he had become a pastor, which was a second career for him. And, I had gone back to work by that point, and I finally understood it. So I do think that I can speak to couples in an objective and unbiased way that I can relate to both sides of it.
You understand the dynamics of both sides, I think.
Sure. Sure. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, I'm always just interested. I mean, I think people need to appreciate that everyone is flawed, and some people's flaws are just right out in front of them. It's just like right there on the surface. And I think it's helpful, particularly to know that, like in your case, that you have a flaw, we'll call it, that is unimaginable for a lot of people, to then give them permission to imagine being healthy, being connected, being successful, being happy, being grateful is a gift, because sometimes people don't have enough of their own imagination to do that. So I think that's a cool...
Definitely gives people perspective.
Yeah, I've heard you say before too about how you said your challenges are very visible. Yeah. Where some folks are not visible.
A lot of the people that come to see me, you don't have depression stamped on your forehead.
Yeah.
Or I'm a victim of domestic violence. In so many ways, people are so kind to me. And they give me a pass on so much, If my house is messy, which it is, if my handwriting isn't perfect, or if I'm late, which unfortunately I often am, people give me a pass because they know that it probably took me a lot to get out the door.
Whereas if you have chronic anxiety, you don't get that pass.
Wouldn't it just be a great world if everybody got that pass? If even, when somebody cuts you off in traffic, if we said, gosh, that person must really be in a rush. So, and I'm not saying that, everybody should be able to do that all the time. But
do you drive? Can you drive?
I do.
Yeah. So, I mean, even
Watch
to imagine...
I'm on the road.
Well, even to imagine that, right? Somebody cuts me off and I go, oh, that person may have lost both of their limbs in a tragic health crisis a dozen years ago. And, we don't know what people are carrying around. So I think that's an interesting perspective for sure.
I remember one time she had parked in the handicap parking. And so when she wears like jeans and stuff like that, from far away, it's not super noticeable. And someone I think maybe made a comment about her parking in there, and she's like, "Really?" And then when she kind of
turned around and like they saw my hands,
and then the prosthetic,
they
felt that.
They felt bad after that.
Yeah, that's just another example too of how people don't understand disability, right? You park in the handicap spot, that must mean that you have to get a wheelchair out of the back of your car or something. So many of us, or so many people, have disabilities that are in fact hidden or that just are not mainstream. So I really appreciate that you guys are, well, it's kind of hard to be, it's hard to not be upfront about it, but that it's just a central part of your story and that you've made so much out of it. So I'm grateful that you shared it with us. And if we wanted to hire you as a speaker or wanted to learn more about what you're up to, how do we do that? How do we stay connected to you guys?
Sure. Yeah. I have a website. It's just my name. So www.kristanseaford.com. And so that's how people can get to me, whether it's for counseling or speaking.
Yeah.
And, I also do a lot of like peer support for people that have amputations. And so people somehow across the country find me and say, hey, I have a sister who just lost her hands. Can you call her? Can you, and I love to do that. And people do find me. Yeah. And, someone came to visit me when I was in the hospital and they showed me kind of that it's possible to live a full life.
Yeah. And Brooke, do you have that same invitation? Like if there's a spouse out there who's struggling to kind of figure out how to adapt, do you also kind of open up your story and your support mechanism to them, or is that something you tend to hold a little more closely?
No, I would be happy to do that for sure. I don't think anyone has ever really asked me, but I would absolutely it would be a privilege to be able to walk with somebody like that.
That's another thing though, is that people don't talk about what it's like for the caregiver.
Yeah.
And
I would imagine
it wasn't just me that this happened to. It happened to us.
Yeah.
And I can also imagine how hard it is, how hard it would be to watch the person that you love most in this world have to go through this. Like, what was it like as I was in the 8-hour surgery? What was it like for you to imagine what was going on in the operating room?
Yeah, I can't even wrap my head around it. My wife's having a colonoscopy tomorrow, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't, please, it's a half hour. It doesn't take any time at all. And
sure.
I'm like, that prep isn't fun though.
I know, no, she is miserable right now.
Oh.
Well, listen, thanks so much for coming on the show. And I'm really glad to hear more of your story. And I'm actually just sharing in your gratitude for the process of navigating something so challenging and then coming out on the other side with something like, I don't want to quite say triumph, but something like I don't know, success or whatever you might label it. How would you label it? Do you have a word for it?
One thing that I do say is that I don't feel like I'm a good mom or a good wife or a good counselor despite what happened to me. But in so many ways, I am those things because of what happened to me.
Yeah. I love that for you. All right. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. It was good to meet you both. And if I can be helpful to either of you in any way, I hope you'll let me know.
Well, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much to Brooke and Kristan for sharing their story with me. If you want to learn more about Kristan, who is practicing out of North Carolina, you can reach her at Kristan Seaford. That's KristanSeaford.com. And, whether you're just looking for a little inspiration, some guidance, maybe you know somebody who shares similar circumstances, Kristan is a great resource. Brooke is an incredible partner. And again, I really enjoyed talking to them. I hope you did too. I look forward to talking to you next week. For now, I'll thank you for the time and attention you're putting into making your relationship better today than it was yesterday.